Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dayakaram Dayakaram Dantam Dharma Pravartakam Pranamami Dayanandam Madacharya Param. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we had finished a section in the Gita, and with this type of teaching, very intensive, you can see the flow of the Gita. It's very beautiful. I'm also actually first time seeing, because I have not done this type of course before, the beautiful flow of the verses and the sections, why Krishna, certain sections are there. Now he has another idea. So we saw, the whole theme through these sections is Nattvam Shochitam Arhasi. You need not grieve for anything. So Shocha, we saw nothing, Ashocha means there's nothing, no cause for grief at all. And Krishna had beautifully discussed from the standpoint of Atma consciousness, there's nothing to grieve for because it is all pervasive, limitless truth. So we cannot grieve for anything where there is no second thing. So he had shown some verses where he had talked about this approach. Then he talked from the standpoint of anatma. Anatma is that which keeps coming and going, and the physical bodies included there. The physical forms keep coming and going. They don't last. 1 minute they're here, they last for some time, then they also go. As we know, we are all only, life is between a date of entry, dash, and exit. So the dash is the life of everybody, actually. So some gravestones may have a bigger dash, some may have a smaller dash, but still, it's still a dash. So he saw from the standpoint of anatma, standpoint of the physical body, you don't need to grieve. Now, Krishna brings in, because he probably feels Arjuna's ego is still there, that egoic sense of a warrior. Being a warrior, he is going to discuss the personal roles in life as well. It's called Vishesha Dharma, doing one's duty. So from the standpoint of doing what is to be done, doing, the word duty is a bit, intense sometimes. We don't really, link with it in English. Better to explain that as playing one's role in life. And playing one's role means what is to be done by you at a particular time, particular place, in a particular situation. So now these verses are going to discuss Arjuna's role as a kshatriya. Kshatriya means warrior. So like we have in the West, knights, Knights, the knights. And many cultures have their own sets of warriors. They had in those days in India certain code of ethics when they fought wars as well, and certain way of living life. So he talks about this now. He says, Swadharmamapi chavekshya navikampitum dharmyadhiyuddha shreyonyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Swadharmam api avekshya. Chavekshya cha api cha avekshya. So even looking at your even looking from the standpoint of your own role that you are doing, you don't deserve to be shaken by this amount of grief. You should not have hesitation in doing what is to be done. Basically, this is what he says in the next few verses. Your reward is going to come in the form of long-term peace of mind. Don't you want to invest some discomfort in the short term for that long-term peace? And in life, in the Shastra, that inner peace is actually Ishvara rewarding us to say you're doing the right thing. Inner peace is always a sign you're in harmony with Ishvara. When you're in harmony with what is, which is Ishvara, that manifests as inner peace in a person's mind. So here he is saying that, Bhishma and Drona have to be killed because they have chosen deliberately to fight on the unethical side, which is adharmic. It is called adharma. They're fighting on the side of adharma, the unethical side. And this also shows conformity to dharma is a choice. We can choose whether to do the right thing or go against what is right to do. Bhishma and Drona could have chosen not to fight with Duryodhana, but because they had their own agenda, they knowingly chose the adharmic side. So Krishna is bringing in all these arguments saying, this is a war of dharma. This is not your own personal battle. You are fighting to preserve, maintain law and order in this kingdom, law and order in the world. This word dharma also, you have probably heard it. It has so many different meanings, and the context alone decides. So here we're talking about dharma in the form of, it can be own duty. Dharma can also refer to universal ethics. Dharma can refer to punya, or the results of good deeds that you accrue. Dharma can also be essential qualities of a thing or a person. That is also called dharma. But generally here, in the context of Bhagavad Gītā, there is samanya dharma, which is brought in by Krishna, and vishesha dharma. Samanya dharma means universal dharma. Universal dharma, you don't need to go to a school to learn. Universal ethics, everybody knows themselves. Values, universal values, non-injury, ahimsa, asteyam, non-stealing. We have this in even Yoga Shastra. Those people who learn yoga, you will know part of the yamas, niyamas, yamas, all of these contain values for life. Satyam, speaking the truth. Arjavam, the unity, harmony of thought, word, and deed. All of these are universal values that all cultures hold dear, all human beings. And you have another dharma, which is Vishesha Dharma. This is what Krishna is discussing here, your individual role in life. You have specific duties, specific, things that you have to do depending on what hat you wear. So 1 minute it could be a mother hat. Then you have play your role as a mother. Next minute it could be an employee hat. Employee hat is very easy. Why? Because you have a contract with the employer. Your contract is your role, and you know the role very easily. But in life, in many of the roles, we don't have contract with Ishvara, so we don't know our script. We wish we could have contract with Ishvara. So Gita will help you discover your script, your roles in life. This is called Swadharma in Sanskrit. Swadharma is your roles, what you have to do. So here in this context, Krishna says, dharmyat yuddhat shreyaha anyata, which means this is a righteous war, Arjuna. It is going to help you gain moksha in the long term. Shreyaha anyat, which means that it is going to lead you to the goal that you ultimately want. It is not initiated by you. It is something you're put in and you're not playing your role properly. That's why you're suffering. This is what Krishna is trying to say. You are confused because you're in conflict, because you know what the right thing to do is ultimately, but you can't do it. That is the conflict in you. And this is what this argument Krishna is introducing here to teach Arjuna that you are a warrior, you are fighting for peace, you're fighting to establish universal law and order, and it is a defense, not an attack, you know. And sometimes we have to be, ahimsa, the non-injury, non-hurtfulness. I said before as well, it is interpretable value, it is not absolute. Sometimes you have to hurt in order to help. And you have to, some wars are righteous wars we had to fight. Suppose in World War II, Allies already had appeased Hitler. But suppose they just sat back and said, okay, no, poor thing, let him take over Europe. What would Europe look like today? So this war was thrust upon the Allied forces. They did not go after it. That is called dharma yuddham. It is called a righteous war. So there are many wars which are warranted because we're fighting for dharma. We're fighting against these unethical things. So here he's saying, you have the role as this policeman. You have a role of a warrior. Do your duty, do what is right, and you will gain moksha in course of time. Although doing, activity, performing action cannot directly lead to liberation, but it can help you. I'm going to teach you now in the next verses of the second chapter, Karma Yoga lifestyle, a way of performing your actions, a way of playing your roles, so you can prepare yourself for moksha, for liberation. Karma Yoga is now slowly being introduced, and this is right action backed by right attitude. So we'll see what the right attitude is. Right action and right attitude gives you mental preparation for spiritual success. So kshatriyasya na vidyate, Krishna says, there is nothing greater for a warrior like you than this battle. And the derivation of kshatriya, which means warrior, is kshatat trayate iti kshatriyaha. I like to give the Sanskrit meanings. Kshatat means adharmat, the one who protects everyone from adharma or unethical practices is called kshatriya. That is a warrior. Beautiful word for warrior. Warrior is not talking about attacking. It is talking about defending everybody from adharma. So the very role is a role of defense. And in further chapter, Krishna will actually go on to say, Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Very beautiful line. He actually says, you are my instrument. Who are you to think you are doing anything? I am doing through you. Be my instrument. Don't think you are fighting. I am working through you. It is with all of us in life. We cannot move even a little finger without Krishna's grace, without consciousness blessing, in the form of consciousness blessing, we cannot do anything. So Arjuna now has to shift his vision. He is looking at everything from emotional viewpoint. So we saw this battle that he's going through, the manaha aspect of thinking, mind over intellect, which always creates uncertainty and confusion, not just in Arjuna's life, in every human being's life. So he says, Navikampitum arhasi, don't waver in doing what is to be done. Doing what is to be done in life will bring you ultimate success. Krishna continues to motivate Arjuna, the warrior. He goes on saying, Yadrichaya chopapannam swargadvaram apavritam sukhinaha kshatriyah partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. Yadrichaya chopapannam, which means without planning, you didn't create this situation. It has just come upon you by chance. And such wars are gained for a warrior because of punya, good luck. So in those days, they used to feel these righteous battles were a result of their great deeds of goodness from, that they have done in their past. So actually, it is a great honor that you are being chosen. You have been given this situation, and it's a blessing for a kshatriya like you, because only, in those days, the warriors were very proud of their skills. Arjuna was known as a great archer. If you read Mahabharata, so many battles he had won and so many skills he had exhibited in his archery. And can you remain without showcasing your skills? You cannot remain like that. So battle is a ground where battleground is place where you can showcase your skills also. So for a warrior, it's a big thing. You trained all your life and you want to show what you have learned, act of warriorship as well. And also you will be adored and venerated and worshipped by all the subjects of the kingdom. Medals, honor, all of this is part of being a warrior. Like, like a surgeon's skill. Surgeon, some surgeons are fantastic at doing very intricate surgeries, but their skills only come out on the operating table. So all the skills have to have a place where they're showcased. So Krishna says, this is the place for you. And Swarga Dwaram Apavritam means the gates of warrior heaven are open to you. So in the Vedic, or in Krishna's times, in that time, when you die in the battle, you go to a special place called Veera Swarga. Veera Swarga is where warriors go when they die in battle, and it was a great honor to actually die in battle. Battle itself was punya karma for a warrior, and if you win, Krishna says, dharma wins. If you lose as well, you go to that Veera Swarga. So it is always win-win. Krishna's trying to tell him, you win either way. Sukinaha kshatriyaf partha idrisham yuddham labate, which means that people, you are blessed, you are lucky, you have this great battle which is not easy to get. If you are victorious, you will gain a kingdom. If you die on the battlefield, you go to that Veera Swarga. There is no retreat in those days for a soldier. So a warrior, you either die in battle or you win. That's it. There was no such thing as retreating, no capture also. So Krishna's telling Arjuna, don't allow this chance to slip away. Now, Krishna, these verses that we've seen, has given the list of gains if Arjuna fights the war, if Arjuna does what is to be done. So he's, it's contextual. Doing what's to be done, you will always gain all of this. But now he shows what Arjuna will gain if he does not do what is to be done. That is also very important to understand. And we have to take this context to our lives. Doing what is to be done, there will be eventually, even though the situation is painful. Sometimes, doing what is to be done is not pleasant, but I know it is to be done. So the long-term gain is always for the good. This is what Krishna is trying to say. When you do what is to be done, it may go against your like. You like something. I had said this saying before, happiness lies in doing what you have to do, not in liking what you want to do always, right? Doing what you have to do, not always liking what you want to do. So this, here, he's saying the same thing to Arjuna. He's saying, don't, when you don't do what you're supposed to do, then a lot of other things follow. He says here in the 33rd verse, Atha chetvamimam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tataswadharmam kirtincha hitva papamavapsyasi. On the other hand, he says, Atha chet imam dharmyam sangramam. If you refuse to fight this righteous war, which is meant to establish dharma, dharmyam, he uses the word here, which is to establish dharma. See, there's a very beautiful definition in the Mahabharata of what is dharma. Dharanad dharma mityayuhu dharmo dharayate prajaha yatsya sanyuktam sadharma iti nishchayaha. Dharma is that which supports and holds together people and the whole universe. That is what is called dharma. It is the fabric of the universe. It is everywhere. Therefore, dharma sustains the societies, maintains social order, and also ensures the well-being and progress of all humanity. Very beautiful definition of dharma from the Mahabharata. Krishna says this is a dharmic battle. Yadi na karishyasi. And if you don't fight this war, if you decide to run away, if you decide to go for bhiksha, you remember in the first chapter, what did Arjuna want to do? He wanted to go and beg for alms because he'd rather become a renunciate than do what is to be done. If you, do this, there will be consequences. You will lose. You will be the loser in so many ways. Now, Krishna, as you can see in these verses that we have seen, he is not light or gentle with Arjuna. So in the next line, he says, Tataha swadharmam hitva kirtim cha hitva. There will be consequences. You will have destroyed your opportunity to do what is to be done, and you yourself will have destroyed your fame. Fame was a big thing for a Kshatriya. They had this big ego. We are, Arjuna also, very powerful warrior. And he was very well regarded in his circles and also well known. So Krishna is actually hitting him with this. You will become notorious. You who once, you had this fame, you had this name. You, the great warrior, will become infamous because you run away from the battlefield. You are a fallen role model. All the youth are looking up to you as a great warrior. So many people want to train with you. So these are the type of things Krishna is telling him, and another price of fame is what? Famous people are always subject to public scrutiny. We've seen that, right? The higher you rise, the lower you fall as well. So being in the position, Arjuna was not a normal person. He was in a high position in society. And Krishna says, by doing what is not to be done, you will face the consequences. What is the consequence? He says, papam avapsyasi. He says, by not doing action, you're going to get papa. So this is interesting, we think by doing the wrong action, we will attract papa. Papa is the unpleasant situations that arise for us in this life or in future lives due to wrong action committed in the past or now. So action that transgresses dharma, that goes against ethical norms, produces, I had said before, an invisible result called papa, and that manifests as unpleasant situations in life. So here, Krishna is actually saying, not that you're doing the wrong thing, you're not doing the right thing. By not doing the right thing, also you get papa. So it is called the papa of omission. So far, we have seen papa of commission. Commission means doing the wrong thing. But papa of omission is also there. Even in our day-to-day lives, we see this papa of omission, right? How do we gain? Not paying taxes. That is a papa of it. You're not doing anything. You're not paying the taxes. But that creates what? It creates unpleasant results for you. Not, neglect any kind of, choice to neglecting the children, for instance. There are many stories we hear of neglected children. That is a papa of omission. That karma, it is non-doing, also produces negative results in your karmic account. So papa of commission, we know, like, committing burglary or killing somebody, like out of, some kind of love affair or some things like that. We see that murder. Now recently there's just a shooting, this type of shooting. Again, in US, you hear shooting all the time. It's become so normal. But that is papa of commission, those type of things. but here it has got a technical name in Sanskrit. So the the texts have given a technical name. It is called akarane pratyavaya doshaha. Akarane pratyavaya doshaha means not doing what you should do. That is going to create a negative result in your karmic account. And another thing to add with that is that by not doing what you are supposed to do, you might end up doing what you're not supposed to do. So you cannot sit still by not doing anything. Nahi, he says, he will say in the third chapter, Nahi kashchit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karmakrit, which means no human being can sit for a second without doing some activity. Very difficult. Even if you're sitting, you're still breathing, involuntary actions are taking place, right? So you can't remain still, and inevitably, if you don't do what is to be done, you will end up doing what is not to be done, again creating papa. So this is very interesting. Krishna is using the karmic argument here. You will get papa by not doing. And even if you think, you don't believe in all this punya, papa, atma and everything, Krishna gives a very worldly reason. So maybe Arjuna doesn't have, at the moment, much shraddha in punya, papa. He probably sees Arjuna's face and he's, oh, now I'll try another argument. So Bhagavan now brings a very down-to-earth idea, saying that your life here itself will become hell for you. So this is what he says in the next one, because for a warrior, what Krishna is saying is a very difficult life on earth. He says, Akirtim chapi bhutani katayashyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtihi maranadati richyate. Bhutani katayishyanti. People will talk about you. What will they talk about? Te akirtim. Your infamy, your ill fame. You won't be remembered for who you really are. Because now you have a status in society. Akirti means you will be left out of, you will be left out of all social circles. Your life will become miserable for you. Your status in society will be zero. It's very, very difficult for a warrior to accept such a fate, because people won't think, oh, he's such a sensitive person. He doesn't want to fight the war. He doesn't want to kill. They will feel, he's a fool. His reputation is totally going to go for a toss. So Krishna says your honor, your respect, it'll be devastating blow for you because they will be taken away. People will say, Arjuna, the chicken who ran away off the battlefield. This type of talk, Swami Dayananda used to say, act out so many things, for this section, how people will react to Arjuna's behavior on the battlefield. And for generations to come, your legacy will be what? That you have left this battle. And sambhavitasya cha, which means you have so many talents, but all those talents will be criticized. You are so esteemed, you're so respected, but you will be maligned. And because you will fall from grace, you will fall from, in people's eyes, maranat atirichyate. Krishna says, death is worse than this for you, O Arjuna. Don't take to this route. It is best you do what is to be done. Fight, because living will be worse than actually dying if you decide to leave this battle. And katayishyanti te vyayam. Also, when I said they will not just, avyayam. Avyayam means undiminishingly they will talk about you. So it is not going to be only, sometimes we think after a week they'll get bored. After a month, they'll get bored. They won't talk about it anymore. Here, Krishna specifically using that word, avyayam, means they will not stop talking about you until your ill fame will be undiminishing ill fame. Until the world exists, it'll be ill fame. So really using quite harsh words with Arjuna. But Arjuna is not an ordinary person. He is in the limelight. He's always been in the limelight. And he says, Arjuna, you won't be able to take it. How can you live? So he says, Bhayat ranaduparatam vamsyante tvam maharathaha yeshan chatvam bahumataha bhutva yasyasi laghavam. So Maharatha, we saw that Maharatha is a title given to a warrior, a person who can slay 10,000 Kshatriyas, other warriors on the opposite side. So Maharatha, these people who are great warriors such as yourself, Tvam Bayat Ranat Uparatam Mamsyante, they will all think that you have retreated from the battle. Is it out of compassion? No. Bhayat ranat, out of fear. They will say, you have run off from fear. So they're not going to see your mind. They will see like this. Yesham bahumataha. And those for whom you are such a highly esteemed person, laghavam yasyasi, you will become insignificant and small person in their eyes. So people, Bhagavan is showing that people in power always have this problem of losing face. And many people, you may have noticed, when they lose their position and power, they're not even able to cope with day-to-day life. You see people who have come, like US presidents, they only have like a term of 8 years or something, right? So after they leave, sometimes you find after the power has gone, the name has gone, nobody even bothers about them. It is a very difficult fall, because power and name gives the ego some prop. So this ego, especially with warriors and people who are in the kshatriya, the kshatriya type of mentality, the people who rule the kingdoms or run the kingdoms, very difficult for them to fall from grace. So here he is saying that don't do this. It is very difficult for you to carry on living when everybody will projecting on you as a fearful person who ran away from battle. It is the worst feeling for a warrior to be rejected by society. So play your role and do it well. He says, Avachya vadanscha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha vadishyanti tavahitaha nindantastava samarthyam tato dukkhataram nukim. Similar things he is reiterating. We saw this in the Gita also. Krishna likes to reinforce, reiterate. He says, Avachya vadan bahun vadishyanti. So they will repeat all types of words. People will talk ill constantly. And we feel more powerful in criticism. People love to criticize. When we get together, it's interesting to see, we should see, when we get together as a group, is there any conversation without some kind of criticism of something? Very rare. As we get together, we always like to criticize something, whether it's a politician or what's happening in the world. There will be something, some talk. So here he's saying, unspeakable words will be spoken about you. And you are not a jnani. If you are a wise person, a self-discovered person, you can take any kind of words, because there's no boundaries for a wise person. A wise person's mind is totally different. It is like total Teflon, that non-stick. Whatever anybody says is not going to stick to that mind. But you are not in that position. You are a human, you're a human being, and you are still ignorant of the self. So you won't be able to take the words that people are going to say about you, because you're going to run away. Nindantaha tava samarthyam. They will criticize your talents, your ability. Samarthya means, again, you are capable of doing so many things. Samarthya is a very beautiful word. You're loaded with capacity. You are full of capacity. And nindantaha, they will criticize that capacity. Kshatriya, you can see the Kshatriya code of Dharma, you can see in these verses. Very beautiful also to see the parallels in different cultures as well. Because I was reading actually I just looked up the code of chivalry, we call it in England. The knights, had a code of chivalry, and many of the things that Arjuna, Krishna is telling Arjuna are parallel in the code of chivalry also. That honor, loyalty, battle, all of this is throughout all warriors in different cultures, very similar to this that we see here. So here he says, Dukkataram nukim. Dukkataram nukim means, is there anything more painful? Is there anything worse for you? I mean, after all these verses, you'd think Arjuna would jump up and start fighting, right? It is quite difficult to hear. So Lord Krishna is emphasizing what others will think and say. But we have to understand this also properly. See, if we live our lives, generally we say, if we live our lives worrying about what others think of us, we will never live our lives, right? So when we talk about the teachings of the Gita, we always have to see the context, what Krishna is trying to say. So you can't take these verses out of context and say Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to worry about what others think, because that is not what Krishna is doing. Krishna is specifically doing this to Arjuna to hit his ego. He knows warrior ego, because he wants a certain outcome for the war. He's already written anyway, but he wants Arjuna to remember his role. So it is specifically contextual. These verses are in this context, question of playing your role in life. But if we see on the general context, general teaching, then we can never spend our lives worrying what others think about us. Swami Dayananda used to say, the worst thing in life is to worry what others think. Because we think we know what others are thinking. That's another thing. We always think, I know what, in our minds, we always have that we know what is in the other person's mind. And sometimes we live our lives thinking that we know what the other one's thinking, trying to conform to that. So actually, that worry about what others think prevents us from living our own lives. Life is like that. Generally in the world, people will put you up 1 minute and they will drop you the next. That is with any society everywhere, because human beings' minds are like that. They're changeable. So the whole of Gita training is, and we'll see, Krishna introduces this in the next few verses, this samatvam, the sameness of mind. Understanding a fact, if somebody praises you very much, there is going to be blame as well. You're going to face the opposites. It's part of life. So here, next, Krishna talks about, again, he's finishing off these verses. In the next 2 verses, he's finishing off this particular topic, his pep talk, his getting Arjuna to fight the war. It is coming to a close. And he's, again, saying that there is nothing to grieve about. He concludes this topic with the next 2 verses. He says, Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva bokshayase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. Tasmad krita nishchaya yuddhaya kaunteya uttishta. All words of encouragement. Uttishta, get up, wake up. Yuddhaya, do what is to be done. Face the challenge. Be determined. Krita nishchaya, which means be determined, O Arjuna. Save your honor. So we're seeing the angle that he is coming from. He is not calling Krishna is not calling Arjuna to war. We have to understand he's calling him to action. Action, because he's paralyzed. He's sitting on that chariot. He's dropped his bows. He's dropped his arrows. He's calling him to action. And he says again, hataha swargam prapsyasi. Same thing he's saying. If you die, heaven, your Veera Swarga, that heaven of the warriors awaits. Vajitva, if you live, you get a kingdom back. So you don't lose anything in this. Bokshase Mahim means you will enjoy the whole earth. You will live like a great, great king on this earth. Everyone will worship you on this earth. So with this, he slowly draws to close, as I said, this pep talk. The next verse will be the final of this section. I wanted to complete all this today because the real teaching now of the Karma Yoga begins. And the next verse, Krishna beautifully brings in this Karma Yoga topic. How do we act in life? How do we make the right choice? Samatvam, he talks about this equanimity of mind, the sameness of mind, of divinizing your activities in life, making work worship. Do your work as worship. So all of this is going to come introduced in the second chapter. Even if I don't like what I'm doing, but I know it's necessary to do, how do I perform the actions? So he says in this beautiful verse, Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam avapsyasi. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labho same kritva jaya jay ajaya. So jaya jayo same kritva. What he talks about is this treating everything with the sameness of mind. Whether sukha dukkhe means joy or sorrow, have the sameness of mind with regard to both. Have the attitude of sameness towards all the pairs of opposites in life. Very tough. Labha labho, not just with joy or sorrow, treating gain or loss more or less the same also. Jaya, jayo, even treating defeat and victory, victory and defeat more or less equally. So this is the key now, the turning point where the topic changes. You can see these sections now developing as we go through the second chapter. Bhagavan now talks about the life for everybody, not just Arjuna. Before we saw their specific contextual to Arjuna's role, and now he talks about life. Life is pairs of opposites. I've said this before, and I say it again and again because it's very important to assimilate. We cannot have one side of the coin and not have the other. Everything rises in pairs. Everything comes in pairs. Now, am I going to react? Am I always going to have an allergic reaction to one side of the pair? I call it allergic reaction. How can I overcome the allergy to pain? How can I overcome the allergy to defeat? How can I overcome the allergy to anything that I don't like to happen? And people may ask, how is it possible? Can it be possible? How can we ever develop sameness of mind to everything? But if you understand, Krishna is not here to give impossible advice. If it is not possible, it is not teaching, right? Teaching is something that you can find as a possibility in your life. So there is a possibility of developing this sameness. Otherwise, the teaching is not given. So here he is sowing the seed of this karma yoga. He's planting the seed and he's going to elaborate it in so much more detail. Whole of chapter 3 is devoted to this topic alone. Chapter 2 also he introduces it. There are some very important verses coming up in the next sessions we'll see, which discuss this lifestyle. But the third chapter will be, the whole topic will be Karma Yoga. It's called Karma Yoga. Swami Dayananda used to say, success in life is nothing but the capacity to face the ups and downs of life without getting emotionally disturbed. That is what success is in life. This karma yoga is the key to this success. Without getting emotionally disturbed, doing the right thing is more important than win or loss. Here, is the conscience clear? Am I doing what is right? The painful, when something is very painful, but I know it's right, do I avoid it? Do I shun, do I shun it? No. It is important to have inner peace, even if there's external conflict. Always remember that. Inner peace is more important than even external conflict. So here, Krishna is saying, you cannot avoid, Arjuna, this duality in life. Open your eyes in the morning. That's why we love sleep. Do you know we love sleep? Why? Because we are non-dual in sleep. There's no duality in sleep. I don't have to face these pairs of opposites. So I love to have that Shushupti Avastha. I don't want to come out of it. My alarm clock wakes me up, does it, sometimes I even throw it across the room because I don't want to come out of that state of non-duality, deep sleep, because I don't want to face this pairs of opposites in life. But life, open the eyes. When the senses come into contact, we saw the verse, the 14th verse of this chapter, also a very beautiful verse. Open the senses to the external world, you will be bombarded by pairs of opposites, cold and heat. No, sukha and dukkha, he says, the matra sparshas tu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkadaha. Then how are you going to do it? Titikshasva. He said there already, bear with it, forbear with it. So here Krishna says, Evam, if you do your duty, if you live your life in this committed way, as I am unfolding for you, na papam avapsyasi, so you will not gain this papa karma, this result of a negative result of omission by omitting what is to be done. So now Krishna is changing the topic. He is going to talk about how to gain a balanced mind. Balanced mind means one which is not riddled with anxiety and fear and emotions that drive my life all the time. This is called living a life of yoga. Yoga is not just the asana. Yoga is also the day-to-day life. How am I facing situations? How do I succumb to challenges? Do I become depressed when things don't happen the way I want? Do I see the order? We'll see that order unfolding in life. So Krishna here is saying now, commit yourself to what I'm going to tell you. Commit yourself to the challenges, to face the challenges of life. Don't run away from this battle of life. Mahabharata is a battle for all of us. It is a battle of life. Don't run away from the pairs of opposites. Yuddhaya yujjasva. Yuddhaya yujjasva is commit yourself and face the battle. Commit yourself and face the battle. So now Krishna is going to tell us how to commit ourselves and how to face our battles in life. We will see that in the Saturday morning session, but we can spend, whoever would like, we will just spend a couple of minutes to practice the chanting of these verses. And you can also bring in the meaning as we chant. If you're able to recall the meaning, it is always nice to chant, remembering the meaning. So would anybody like to chant after me for practice? Any brave jivas? It's good practice for you, for everybody. Don't worry if you get it wrong. Oh, somebody Swati. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So we'll start with the 31st verse. Okay.
Hari Om.
Swadharmam api chavekshya.
Swadharmam api chavekshya.
Twice.
Swadharmam api chavekshya.
Na vikampitum arhasi.
न विकम्पितुमर्हसि न विकम्पितुमर्हसि
धर्म्याद्धियुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत्
धर्माधियुध्यान् श्रेयोऽन्यत्
धर्म्याद्धियुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत्
धर्मार्धियुद्धा श्रेयोन्यत्.
Yeah, not bad. It's difficult. Dharmya. So dharmya. So you can split it like that mentally. Dharmya dhi. Dharmya. You can draw a line there. Dharmya dhi yuddha. You can draw a line there. Shreyonyat.
धर्माधियुद्धा श्रेयोन्यत्
Kshat.
धर्माधियुद्धा श्रेयोन्यत्
Kshatriyasya na vidyate.
क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते
Yadrichaya chopapannam.
यदृच्छया चोपपन्नम् यदृच्छया चोपपन्नम्
Swargadvaramapavritam.
स्वर्गद्वारमवाप्ृतम् स्वर्गद्वार अपावृतम्
Sukhinaha kshatriyah partha.
सुखिनः क्षत्रिया पार्थ सुखिनः क्षत्रियाः पार्थ.
So there's a rule in Sanskrit chanting when the visarga, which is the H, if you're reading the English, H with the dot under, it's called visarga in Sanskrit. When it is followed by ka or kha, then you have to pronounce the full sound of the visarga. So Sukhinaha kshatriyah partha. Sukhinaha kshatriyah partha.
सुखिनः क्षत्रिया पार्थ सुखिनः क्षत्रिया पार्थ
Kshatriyah partha.
क्षत्रियाः पार्थ
लभन्ते युद्धमीदृशम्.
लभन्ते युद्धमीदृशम् लभन्ते युद्धमीदृशम्
अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यम्.
अथ चेत्तमिमं धर्म्यम् अथ चेत्तमिमं धर्म्यम्
चेत्त्वम्. अथ चेत्त्वम् इमं धर्म्यम्.
अथ चेत्त्वम् इमं धर्म्यम् अथ चेत्त्वम् इमं धर्म्यम्
सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि.
सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि
ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च.
ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च
हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि.
हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि.
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि
कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम्.
कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम्
सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः.
सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः
मरणादतिरिच्यते.
मरणादतिरिच्यते मरणादतिरिच्यते
भयाद्रणात् उपरतम्.
भयाद्रणादुपरतम् भयाद्रणादुपरतम्
मन्स्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः.
मन्स्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः मन्स्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः
येषां च त्वं बहुमतः
येषां च त्वं बहुमतः येषां च त्वं बहुमतः
भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्
भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम् भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्
अवाच्य वादांश्च बहून्
अवाश्च वादांश्च बहून् अवाश्च वादांश्च बहून्
वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः
वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः
निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम्
निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम् निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम्
ततो दुःखतरन्नु किम्
ततो दुःखतरं नु किम् ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्
हतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम्
हतो वा प्राप्यसि स्वर्गम् हतो वा प्राप्यसि स्वर्गम्
जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम्
जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम् जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम्
तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय
तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय
युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः
युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः
Now the turning point. Sukha dukkhe same kritva
सुख दुःखे समे कृत्वा सुख दुःखे समे कृत्वा
लाभालाभौ जया जयौ
लाभालाभौ जया जयौ लाभालाभौ जया जयौ
ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व
ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व
नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि
नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि
Very nice. Very nice to practice. So somebody else can prepare for next time. So we'll leave it with, may you prepare for battle. So battle of tomorrow morning. Hari Om.
हरि ओम्
Om Sarve
सर्वे
Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. See you all Saturday morning. Hari Om. Namaste. Enjoy Shushupti Avastha.